Hi, my leadership gold diggers. Happy Monday. It's Christina Stark again here at Jamboree Home Office. And my goodness, we are getting so close to the end of the month. And I just want to remind those of you who might be new to this group to make sure that you post where you are, how close you might be to re-ranking this month in the thread. There's a graphic that says re-ranked or close to it. Make sure that you put where you are with things in that thread. That way then we can make sure that you can actually go back and see your progress if you've already commented in there. But especially for the new people who are not familiar with what goes on in this group, make sure that you put that particular your re-rank info, where you're at, how close you are, or maybe you are getting close to hitting a promotion. Make sure you put it in that thread. Okay, so ladies, it's been interesting as I continue to do these coaching calls, and you'll just have to keep checking my coaching call calendar because there are times and slots that do open up for people. So make sure that you do get in there. And but as I come across these coaching calls, it's interesting. One of the questions that I ask as part of the homework is, who is in your recruiting pipeline? And where are they at? Meaning from a scale of 1 to 10, so you have this range, where are they at when it comes to joining? And it's really important because I think a lot of us have kind of like, well, what constitutes having somebody in my recruiting pipeline? So I thought I would bring up this, the pipelines, kind of the exercise again for you guys to realize. And these have been updated, and I will post them to our page. They're just in 8.5 by 11, but for you foreigners that are using A4 format, I will get those up there for you as well. But let's talk about our pipelines. There are 3 pipelines. One is our host pipeline. Customer pipeline is first, then our host pipeline, and then our recruiting pipeline. If you can imagine, we have a giant pipeline. So if you think about like the Alaskan, the Alaska pipeline, and it starts from one end and moves across, but at some point it's kind of got a little diversion, okay? And if you think of a refining process, all of that, the oil comes through that pipeline and then it has to be refined. And that is what I consider your recruiting pipeline. It has to start out as a customer. That's that giant funnel at the very, very top. And as you work with that customer to become a host, now the pipeline gets a little bit squeezed down into a smaller funnel. And then as you continue to talk about the opportunity with them, that's squeezing down into your recruiting pipeline. Now, that means that you have to start them off somewhere, right? You could consider all of your customers potential recruits. Okay, you can consider that. But it depends on if you've actually brought up the opportunity. Talking about the starter kit, talking about Style VIP. Again, start out wide, comes in thinner, and even narrower, okay? So let's talk about these pipelines. We have to start off with our customer pipeline right here. And the pipeline, obviously you can see here, start here, is going to be step number 1. People that you know. And of course, there's always going to be a question of, have you done this? Is it a yes? And if so, you're going to move to the next step. Have you ever read those or played games like Chutes and Ladders where you have to have, okay, if you did this, now you can move to the next stage? That's exactly what this pipeline is. But notice that this pipeline is circular, okay? Moves in a circle. Because at the end of it, when you ask move customer to new pipeline, and it says that you need to continue to follow up, which is key, it's possible that they just might move back to being a customer. They may not move to the next pipeline. So there are 7 steps here that you pay attention to. And I don't want to go over every single one of these because I think at some point I may just have a training that is dedicated to one of these pipelines. But let's start off. This is the customer pipeline. Now, if they have gone through and they're a yes for every single one of these, okay, sorry, I'm not in the center here, and they make it here, then if you ask them, okay, so the next would be the host pipeline. And the host pipeline pretty much starts out in number 1 again. So you can see there always starts with a dot here and always talks about here. So when it talks, people I know, have I talked to this person about Jamberry? It's not necessarily just the, if I go back to my customer, if you'll notice, number 1, people I know, have I established some sort of relationship? What? Are you kidding? Yeah, that's exactly it. It starts out with the relationship. You have to get to know them first to show them about Jamberry. Okay? Now then, as I mentioned, let's go to people I know on the host pipeline. You can see up here on host pipeline. People I know, have I talked to this person about Jamberry? Meaning, really having a little more in depth than just buying some stuff. So basically, you're going to then have here your 7 steps again. Have I talked to them about hosting? Okay, and if so, then now you can move on to the next step. Okay, so again, there are things that move you all the way through. What if they say no? Then you don't move to the next step. Okay? That's why it's asking yes. Okay? If it says it's a yes, then you can move to the next step. So that is, again, so you go from a customer to a host, right? That's a natural progression. So now at the top of this, if I can put it here, see, it says move host to new pipeline. Now, this is possible that they could go back to just being a customer. They may not want to be anything further than a customer or a hostess, okay? They could stay in this pipeline. They could repeat this pipeline several times. If you have one of those, hostess of the month clubs, that is your pipeline right there. Or maybe perhaps she's just an awesome hostess every 6 months. She's going to go in here. But at some point, you're going to have to go beyond that. And that's the scary part for most of us. Okay? That's the part where we're just like, I don't even know how to approach it. But with hostess coaching, okay, that's where you're asking the question. This may come out of left field, but have you ever considered doing what I do? I would love to have you just watch what I do and consider yourself being in my shoes. Okay? So now she is moving to the recruiting pipeline up here. And that is acquire a lead for starting. Okay. So there, have I established some sort of relationship through a party, event, friend, or referral? There's lots of questions there. So if so, then of course you can move to the next step right here. Shared info on the opportunity. Now, if you can see here, this is the part that I think a lot of us forget, that have I sent an information packet, added to a sneak peek, and interviewed them. We've talked about the interview, finding people, what is their situation, and how can Jamberry solve the problem that might be, or an issue that happens to be in their lives currently. Okay, and we talked about onboarding and or basically having the interview, making sure that that person knows what they're going into and is not going to be just one of those people that is a kidnapper and you spent all this time, trying to get them in there and they're just going to be a style VIP. I guess that's what we're wanting to do. And just making sure. So this is exactly the same thing. You have the questions. If yes, Then you're going to move them through this. Now, obviously at the end, they've met their Fast Start 1. And what you're going to do is you're going to then share all of these pipelines with them so they can do the same thing. They have the steps. They're not just going, how do I recruit? How do I get people in my host, in my pipelines? Okay, you want to share all 3 of these documents with them to make sure that they're repeating the same process to hit their Fast Starts 2 and 3, because that's the goal. And when you get them set up for success and they can duplicate the process, that's exactly what's going to make that person feel like they've accomplished something, instead of just coming into their Fast Starts, hitting Fast Starts 1, 2, and 3, and then going out. They need to know these are important pipelines to help them understand how the business works. Because what is it, ladies? Basically, this business is cyclical, okay? It's a circle. It always, we talk about this when it comes to the emotional cycle of sales. We talk about this, how do I run my business? I book, sell, recruit, repeat, and follow up. Throw that in there too. So again, if you are not getting a yes, you need to figure out how to move past to get a yes for each of these sections. Obviously, the customer one is the easiest pipeline. But again, remember, like I talked about that Alaska pipeline, the oil has to get refined. Okay. And that is going to be, that's the same thing. Or if you want to think about it in gold or diamonds or whatever it is, when you look at a diamond just doesn't come out shiny and bright. Okay. It starts out as a rock, but you have to get down in there and refine it so that you can find that shiny diamond, okay? It has to get polished. You have to apply some heat through it. There's a lot of stuff that happens. So again, recruiting pipeline, okay, starts as a customer, squeezes down and moves into the host pipeline, squeezes down even further into the recruiting pipeline. So when I ask who is in your recruiting pipeline, you should know people start as a 1 and move through that until they become a 10 and are ready to join your team. But you've got to find out, how do you get them from a 1 to a 10? I'll tell you, it's about following up. It's about having those conversations and coming from a place of service. I watched a video today from Rachel Hughes, and she talks about the PSA concept, that people will, if you listen to people, they usually have a problem, meaning that they need to pay extra bills, or, they are just struggling at home with maybe depression and need some time to get out. Well, as you listen to their problems, the P, you know that Jamberry is the solution. Okay, that's the S. So you have the P for problem. With Jamberry, you have the solution, but you have to ask them. All right, you must ask them, just as the waitress analogy. And some days they may take you up on the menu, but actually not join at that time. How many of us have gone to a restaurant, we've gotten the dessert menu, and we've decided that we're just too full at the time. But we can't wait until that dessert menu comes around when it's the right time and we can take them up on it. So just remember, you have the PSA. You find out what their problem is, knowing that Jamberry is S, the solution, but you must ask them and share the opportunity with them. Okay, guys, I will be posting those. No homework. Tomorrow is, I hope everybody's ready for Halloween. I know we are getting ready here at the office, but there will be, hopefully you'll be able to join me for the Daily Nugget. I will be in costume, so be prepared. You never know what it might be. So I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow, and make sure that you put this into practice. Again, this is part of your goals. If you've ever read the top of one of these, and I just happened to pull up the customer one, this reads right here. Let's see if you guys can see that. I'm probably not going to center it very well, but The biggest part of this is that it's a visual to help you keep your leads moving through the pipeline. And it's meant to be a continually changing and evolving kind of lead list. It says you should devote at least 30 minutes a day working on your pipeline. If 30 minutes a day is not feasible, then you need to make sure that it works in your power hour, wherever you can fit it. But you need to be working on your pipelines, okay? And biggest part of this is that it says you want to spend a balanced amount of time on each step, beginning at step 1. Do not ignore the beginning of the pipeline. This creates an ever-evolving list of leads, and if you fail to pay attention to putting new leads in this pipeline, it will run dry. We don't want that to happen. So I'm here to help you succeed. And by putting these into practice, I hope you realize that by doing the work, your pipeline can continually be filled. All right, guys, we shall see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Make it a productive week. Cannot wait to see how October ends. There are some great things coming in November. So make sure you have your goal sheets filled out, your goal trackers. And let's try to get these goals met before the end of the month next time, so you're not scrambling. Do what you can. But again, if you're not teaching your girls to do the same things you are, then of course you'll be waiting till the end of the month. And perhaps they need some of these little nuggets too. Johnny's group is different, but you being a sponsor and coming from a place of service and a place of wanting them to succeed, it definitely will show, and they will know you care. All right, guys, take care. Bye.